Chosen one, if you are listening to this right now, understand this with absolute certainty. This message found you because Allah wanted it to. There are moments in life when no human applauds you, no one notices your restraint, your patience, your silent sacrifices, yet in the unseen, the heavens are responding to you. Today is not just another day. Today is one of those rare moments when Allah looks at the way you carried yourself through hardship, the way you resisted what was forbidden, the way you stayed sincere when it was painful. And He says, "You made me so proud of you today." Not proud because you were flawless, but proud because you did not give up. You did not sell your soul. You did not abandon your faith. And you did not let the world change who you are. This message is for the chosen ones who kept walking even when their hearts were heavy, who obeyed Allah in private before being honored in public, and who trusted His plan while everything felt uncertain. Listen carefully, because these 7 lessons are not random motivation. They are divine confirmations that Allah sees you, accepts you, and is preparing to elevate you in ways you never imagined. Chosen one, Allah is proud of you, because there were countless moments when disobedience would have been easier, more convenient, more socially accepted, and immediately rewarding. Yet you restrained yourself purely out of consciousness of Allah, not because the temptation was weak, but because your iman was stronger. And in those silent battles where no one else was present, where no human eye could judge you or praise you, you still chose halal over haram, patience over reaction, silence over revenge, and integrity over shortcuts. And Allah saw every inner struggle that tore at your nafs while your heart whispered, "Allah is watching." For this is the obedience that weighs heaviest on the scale, the obedience done in secrecy, when desire screams and faith quietly responds. And while others justified their wrong choices by blaming circumstances, pain, or people, you took responsibility for your soul and chose restraint, knowing that pleasing Allah for a moment is better than pleasing desire for a lifetime. And even when your heart felt tired, when it seemed unfair that you had to hold back while others indulged freely, you remembered that Allah never asks you to give something up without intending to replace it with something far greater. So every time you walked away from what displeased Him, angels recorded not just your action, but your struggle, your sincerity, and your loyalty. And understand this deeply. Obedience in hardship is proof of true faith, because anyone can obey when it is easy, but only the chosen obey when it hurts, when it costs them comfort, validation, relationships, or opportunities. And that is why Allah looks at you with pride, because you proved that your faith is not conditional, not performative, and not dependent on ease, but rooted in taqwa. And even if the world never knows what you resisted, Allah knows. And He is the one who says, "I saw you choose me when you could have chosen otherwise." And that choice alone is enough to elevate you beyond where you can currently see. Chosen one, Allah is proud of you because you were tested not just with hardship, but with people. And this is one of the heaviest trials a believer can carry, for wounds inflicted by words, betrayal, neglect, mockery, and injustice cut deeper than any visible pain. Yet despite being misunderstood, falsely judged, taken for granted, or treated unfairly, you did not allow your heart to rot with hatred, nor your tongue to become a weapon. And even when you were tempted to harden yourself, to become cold, sharp, and dismissive like those who hurt you, you chose kindness, dignity, and restraint for the sake of Allah. Not because it was easy, but because you understood that your character is an amana entrusted to you by Him, and while others would have justified cruelty as self-defense, you protected your akhlaq, knowing that Allah is closer to the broken-hearted than to the loud-mouthed. And there were nights when your heart was heavy, when silence felt like injustice and patience felt exhausting, yet you still refused to repay harm with harm, because you trusted that Allah is Al-Adl, the most just, and that no wrong goes unseen or unrewarded. And every time you swallowed your anger, every time you responded with calm instead of chaos, every time you chose mercy over ego, Allah elevated you in ranks unseen. For kindness in pain is not weakness, it is spiritual strength. And Allah loves the servant who remains gentle in a world that tries to turn them cruel. So even if people never apologized, never understood you, or never acknowledged your pain, know that Allah recorded every tear, every moment of restraint, and every act of grace. And He says, I saw how they treated you, and I saw how you responded. And that response is exactly why you are among those He is proud of. Chosen one. Allah is proud of you because you trusted Him in seasons where clarity disappeared, logic failed, timelines collapsed, and every human calculation told you that things should have worked out by now, yet you continued to place your heart in Allah's hands, even when your mind was full of unanswered questions. For there were moments when doors closed without explanation, when prayers seemed delayed, when effort did not immediately meet reward, and when the silence felt heavier than the struggle itself. Yet instead of walking away in disappointment or resentment, you leaned deeper into tawakkul, whispering, Allah knows, when your heart was tired of waiting. And this level of trust is not built in comfort, but forged in confusion. When faith must exist without reassurance, when hope survives without evidence, and when the soul chooses belief over bitterness, and while others demanded instant answers or abandoned their path when outcomes did not align with expectations, you remained anchored to Allah, believing that His wisdom extends far beyond what your limited vision can grasp. And even on days when doubt knocked on your chest and fear tried to rewrite your thoughts, you reminded yourself that Allah has never failed you once, even if His help arrived in forms you did not expect. And understand this deeply. Trusting Allah when everything makes sense is normal, but trusting Him when nothing does is a rare act of worship that shakes the unseen, because it proves you believe in Allah's plan, even when it contradicts your desires, your timing, and your understanding. And every step you took forward without certainty, every prayer you made without immediate relief, every night you slept not knowing how things would resolve, but still believing they would, was recorded as Iman in its purest form. And Allah looks at that unwavering trust and says, this servant believed in me without seeing. And that is why what is coming next will arrive with wisdom, precision, and a depth of blessing that only those who trusted in the dark are prepared to receive. Chosen one. Allah is deeply proud of you because when hardship pressed against your chest, when injustice felt personal, when delays stretched your patience thin and people added salt to wounds you never deserved, you made a choice that most people never make in their entire lifetime. You chose growth over complaining. And this decision was not made once, but repeatedly, in moments when venting would have been easier, louder, and more socially accepted. Yet you understood at a soul level that constant complaining drains the heart, while growth transforms it. So instead of turning your pain into endless conversations, you turned it into reflection, dua, and inner correction. And this required immense self-control, because there were days when you were exhausted, misunderstood, and emotionally overloaded. Days when silence felt like injustice, and patience felt like self-betrayal. Yet you reminded yourself that Allah sees what people miss, and hears what you never say out loud. And rather than asking, why is this happening to me? You began asking, what is Allah shaping within me through this? And that shift alone is evidence of spiritual maturity, because complaining seeks sympathy, while growth seeks wisdom, and wisdom is far heavier in Allah's sight. And while others allowed hardship to make them bitter, reactive, and stuck in the same emotional cycles year after year, you allowed difficulty to soften you, deepen you, and sharpen your discernment, learning when to speak, and when silence protects your peace. Learning when to hold on and when letting go is obedience. Learning that not every battle needs your voice, and not every injustice requires your explanation. And there were moments when your chest felt heavy with unsaid words, when you replayed situations in your mind, wondering if staying quiet cost you dignity. But Allah was watching you choose restraint over drama, self-awareness over self-pity, and long-term elevation over short-term emotional release. And this is not because you never felt anger, sadness, or frustration, but because you refused to let those emotions lead your decisions, knowing that uncontrolled complaining slowly poisons the heart, weakens tawakkul, and delays clarity, whereas growth cleans the inner world and aligns the soul with Allah's wisdom. And in private, Allah saw you correcting your reactions, even when the situation itself was not your fault. Saw you questioning your intentions, purifying your expectations, and asking Him to remove anything within you that did not belong in the next level of your life. And understand this deeply. Allah does not elevate those who simply endure pain. He elevates those who extract guidance from it. And every time you chose to learn instead of lash out, to mature instead of magnify the problem, to refine your character instead of rehearsing your suffering, you turned a test into worship. And this is why your journey feels heavy yet purposeful, because Allah is building depth within you before expanding your outer world, ensuring that when blessings arrive, they do not corrupt you. When recognition comes, it does not inflate you. And when ease returns, it does not make you forget Him. And even if no one ever acknowledged how much you changed, how much you swallowed, how much you healed without closure, Allah acknowledged it, and He says, "This servant did not waste the trial." And because you chose growth over complaining, Allah adjusted your inner world first, preparing you to carry future blessings with humility, patience, emotional intelligence, and unshakable faith. And that preparation is itself a sign of divine pride, because Allah only refines those He intends to elevate far beyond where they currently stand. Chosen one, Allah is profoundly proud of you because you continued to pray even when your strength was fading, when motivation was low, when your heart felt heavy, and when your iman felt fragile. For there were seasons when getting up for salah felt like lifting a mountain, when making dua felt repetitive, when words would not come out smoothly, and tears replaced sentences, yet you still turned toward Allah instead of away from Him. And this alone is a sign of sincere faith, because true devotion is not proven on the days you feel spiritually strong, but on the days you feel empty and still choose to bow, still choose to whisper His name, still choose to knock on His door despite feeling undeserving, exhausted, or confused. And Allah saw you pray while tired, pray while emotionally drained, pray while disappointed, pray while unsure of outcomes. And He loved that you came to Him as you were, not polished, not confident, not certain, but honest, broken, and real. For Allah does not ask for perfection, He asks for presence. And every time you stood before Him with a trembling heart, every time you made wudu with a heavy soul, every time you forced yourself to say, Ya Allah, even when hope felt distant, you demonstrated a loyalty that angels marvel at. Because many people abandon prayer when life does not reward them immediately, but you stayed, even when answers were delayed, even when relief did not arrive on your schedule, even when silence tested your patience. And this is because deep down you understood that prayer is not a transaction, but a connection, not a guarantee of instant ease, but a lifeline for the soul. And while others waited to feel strong before turning to Allah, you turned to Allah precisely because you felt weak, because you knew that strength is not found within the self, but granted by Him. And there were nights when your dua felt repetitive, when you wondered if Allah was listening, when fatigue whispered that your prayers were meaningless, yet you pushed through that whisper and prayed anyway, And understand this deeply. Praying while weak carries a weight that praying while confident never will, because it proves that your relationship with Allah is not dependent on feelings, results, or emotional highs, but anchored in faith, discipline, and trust. And Allah recorded every delayed step to the prayer mat, every distracted salah you fought to complete, every moment you returned to Him after feeling distant, and He did not reject those prayers, because Allah never turns away the servant who comes to Him tired but sincere. And even if your tongue stumbled, your heart was speaking. Even if your focus wavered, your intention was firm. And even if your dua sounded broken, Allah understood it perfectly. And this consistency through weakness purified your soul, softened your heart, and protected you from walking away during your lowest moments. And know this: some people are kept strong so they can worship, but others are kept weak so they never stop worshipping. And Allah kept you connected to prayer so that hardship would not sever your bond with Him. And one day you will look back and realize that the prayers you made while weak were the very prayers that saved you, shaped you, and secured what is coming next. Because Allah does not measure worship by energy or eloquence, but by sincerity and persistence. And He says, "My servant came to me even when it was hard." And that is why the strength you are slowly regaining now will feel different, deeper, and more peaceful. Because it was built on prayer offered in weakness, and this is why Allah is proud of you, because you did not abandon Him in your lowest state. And whoever holds on to Allah when weak will be held firmly by Allah when strong. Chosen one, Allah is immensely proud of you because He tested you not only with hardship, but also with strength, resilience, insight, and spiritual elevation. And in these moments when many would succumb to arrogance, pride, or entitlement, you chose humility, restraint, and gratitude, understanding deeply that every ounce of strength, every breakthrough, every victory, and every insight came from Him and not from your own efforts alone. You knew that being gifted with ability, wisdom, or influence is a trust and amana, and not a license for self-exaltation. And while others might have flaunted their talents, belittled those who struggled, or assumed superiority over those who had yet to reach their level, you remained grounded, soft-hearted, and keenly aware of your dependence on Allah. And this is no small feat, for strength, when untempered with humility, can become the root of pride, the doorway to arrogance, and the shield that blocks divine favor. Yet you walked carefully, measured your steps, and consistently reminded yourself that every success is a reflection of Allah's mercy, every blessing a sign of His favor, and every skill or knowledge you possess is entrusted to you to benefit the Ummah, not to inflate your ego. There were moments when whispers of self-importance crept into your heart, when recognition, admiration, or influence tempted you to feel superior, yet you fought against these subtle poisons, constantly realigning your intentions, asking Allah to keep your heart soft, your actions sincere, and your character intact. And while many are tested by weakness and fail by despair, you were tested by strength and succeeded by humility, which is far rarer and far more difficult, because it requires constant self-awareness, vigilance, and the willingness to suppress the ego in favor of truth and gratitude. And there were times when others tried to provoke you, mislead you, or test your patience with envy, jealousy, or challenge. Yet instead of responding with arrogance or superiority, you chose silence, wisdom, and compassion, knowing that arrogance erodes spiritual rank while humility raises it. And you understood that true power lies not in being seen as strong by the world, but in remaining obedient, sincere, and humble before Allah. Even when the world recognizes you as gifted, accomplished, or elevated, and every act of humility, every suppression of pride, every conscious effort to honor Allah in private while receiving praise publicly, was recorded by the angels and counted as a monumental act of worship, because Allah sees not just your outward deeds but the intentions behind them, and He knows the battles you fought in your own heart, the whispers of ego you resisted, and the moments when strength tempted you to stray from sincerity, yet you remained vigilant, mindful, and fully committed to pleasing Allah alone. And this is why your spiritual rank is being elevated in ways that cannot yet be measured, because Allah honors the servant who is tested with blessing and responds with humility, just as He honors the servant who is tested with hardship and responds with patience. And you, chosen one, are among the rare who have proven capable of both, showing that the trials of strength can be as formative, as defining, and as spiritually refining as the trials of weakness. And know this: the higher Allah elevates a servant in strength, knowledge, or influence, the more He expects humility, restraint, and sincerity. And by consistently choosing humility, you have ensured that the power, insight, and influence being bestowed upon you will be protected, sustained, and multiplied in ways that benefit not just you but the Ummah. And even when recognition, achievement, or authority tempted you to feel entitled or self-sufficient, you returned to Allah in gratitude, in prayer, and in acknowledgement that without Him, your strength would be meaningless, your victories hollow, and your character incomplete. And this conscious submission, this constant turning back to Allah, is what makes you a true chosen one, a servant whose heart is polished, whose ego is restrained, and whose faith is proven not in the absence of trials, but in the presence of blessings. And Allah sees every moment, every intention, every private act of humility, and every conscious choice to honor Him above yourself. And He looks at you and says, "I am proud of you, my servant, for you did not allow the gift of strength to destroy your soul, but used it to honor me, to uplift others, and to remain true to your purpose." And that pride, chosen one, is eternal. Just as the elevation that comes from balancing strength with humility is eternal, for Allah does not merely reward action, He rewards the alignment of heart, mind, and soul with His guidance. And you, by staying humble while being tested with strength, have perfectly demonstrated that alignment, ensuring that your journey continues on the path of spiritual elevation, divine favor, and eternal honor. Chosen one, Allah is immensely proud of you, because through every storm, every betrayal, every heartbreak, and every moment when life seemed determined to crush your spirit, you never turned away from Him. You never abandoned your connection, and you never let the weight of circumstances convince you that Allah had forgotten you. And this is the hallmark of the true chosen soul, one who remains loyal to the divine when every worldly indicator says surrender is inevitable. There were days when hope felt like a fragile thread, when your prayers seemed to vanish into the void, when your effort bore no visible fruit, and when the world added insult to injury by dismissing your struggle. Yet you continued to call upon Allah with trembling lips, with a weary heart, and often through tears that no one else could see, understanding that the bond between servant and Creator is not measured by ease or convenience, but by persistence, sincerity, and faithfulness in the face of overwhelming difficulty. And while many would have grown bitter, impatient, or despondent, you instead held on tighter, whispering, "Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil," when despair tried to convince you that nothing was working, and that steadfastness in connection, even when everything else fails, is the essence of tawakkul, absolute reliance on Allah without turning to others for validation or relief. And there were nights when exhaustion threatened to paralyze your spirit, when loneliness amplified your pain, when rejection, failure, and misunderstanding pressed from every side. Yet you did not walk away from your prayers, your dhikr, your intentions, or your love for Allah, because you understood, whether consciously or through the pure instinct of the heart, that the unseen reward is far greater than any visible relief, that Allah's wisdom often hides blessing behind delay, and that persistence in faith is a magnet for miracles, openings, and divine elevation that the impatient cannot receive. And in those quiet, unseen moments when your soul whispered doubt and your heart questioned the fairness of life, you returned again and again to Allah with humility, vulnerability, and trust, proving that your faith is not dependent on comfort, outcomes, or applause, but is anchored in certainty of His presence and His knowledge of all things. And while others measure closeness to Allah by the ease of their days, you measured yours by your unwillingness to abandon Him when the path was hardest, the nights longest, and the silence deepest. And every prayer you forced yourself to offer, every act of patience you persisted through, every intention you purified while feeling broken, every moment you chose to submit rather than rebel, was recorded by the angels, inscribed in the heavens, and seen by Allah in a way that no human could ever witness or understand. And this unwavering devotion is what makes your soul radiant, your heart unshakable, and your destiny aligned with divine favor, because Allah does not only elevate those who excel in ease, but He elevates those who cling to Him through storms, who find strength in surrender, and who persist in faith when everything around them is collapsing. And know this: the trials you endured, the despair you resisted, and the temptation to give up you overcame, have all been shaping you for a rank so high that few can comprehend, preparing you for openings, blessings, and responsibilities that are reserved only for those who remain steadfast. And even when the world tried to break you through loss, pain, disappointment, or betrayal, your unwavering commitment to Allah created an inner fortress that neither hardship nor human deceit could penetrate. And that persistence transformed trials into purification, weakness into resilience, and sorrow into a deep, unshakable connection with your Lord. And Allah sees every step of your journey, every tear shed in secret, every whisper of hope in the darkness, and every return to Him when giving up would have been easy. And He looks at you and says, "I am proud of you, my servant, because you never abandoned me, even when everything else abandoned you. And for that steadfastness, I am preparing for you a reward, a peace, and a closeness that no worldly trial can touch." And understand this deeply: your faithfulness, your persistence, your refusal to give up on Allah in the face of life's heaviest tests is the very thing that will make your story legendary in the eyes of the unseen, a beacon for others who falter, and a testimony of what it means to be a chosen one whose heart is inseparably linked to the divine, whose reliance is absolute, and whose patience, endurance, and unwavering love for Allah have earned a rank that the heavens celebrate even while the world may remain oblivious. Chosen one, now that you have reflected on these 7 powerful lessons, understand this with unwavering certainty: every trial you endured, every restraint you held, every tear you shed in private, every prayer you offered while weary, and every act of sincerity and humility has been seen, cherished, and rewarded by Allah. And today, in ways you may not yet fully grasp, He is proud of you. Your patience, your faith, your unwavering trust, and your obedience have not gone unnoticed. They have been recorded in the highest heavens and will manifest in your life in ways that bring honor, elevation, and divine favor. Remember, the world may not always recognize your efforts, people may misunderstand you, and circumstances may test you endlessly, but Allah's eyes never leave you, and His pleasure outweighs all worldly applause. Walk forward with confidence, chosen one, knowing that the same one who strengthened you in weakness, refined you in trials, and preserved your heart in storms, will now honor your journey with blessings, elevation, and peace beyond your imagination. Never forget, the one who is proud of you is the one who holds the universe in his hands, and when he says, "You made me proud today," it is a crown that no worldly recognition can ever replace. Stay faithful, stay patient, stay humble, and let Allah continue to guide, elevate, and honor you, for this is only the beginning of the greatness He has destined for His chosen servant.